You know, one of the interesting things about translations in general is that we, especially English translations, is that we can get very passionate about the translations that we like. And the truth is that no one translation is perfect. And the reality of that is because each translation is made by imperfect men who do their best to make a translation as accurate as humanly possible. Yet ultimately, at the end of the day, they are still, they're men. But within translations, or within the world of translations, and this goes the same whether you're reading a translation made by somebody or whether you happen to know, some of the original languages, such as Greek or Hebrew, and you're making your own translations. Well, within this world, there are different philosophies on what is the most accurate way to render a text. And this, within this world, there are really two schools of thought, okay? On one hand, you have, I'm just going to go ahead and go with the two extremes. These aren't bad. I'm just saying the extreme far sides of the wall, okay? On one side, you have formal equivalence, right? That would be a translation that's more word for word. That'd be like the ESV or the New American Standard or the NKJV or the KJV, something like that. And on the other side of the wall, you have what's called dynamic equivalence, okay? This would be somewhere, it's not quite paraphrased, but dynamic equivalence would be, not translating something word for word, but more thought for thought. And so there's a discussion about whether or not, what's the most accurate way to translate passages. And, I think that that's a valuable discussion to have. And what's interesting is people get very, like I said, very passionate about this. And the truth is that if you were to ask me which one is more accurate, I would say, is it dynamic or formal? Which one's better? I would say yes. And the truth is that they both are good. I would say as a general rule that when someone is translating a text, and this is what I do, I try to stay as formal as possible. But there are some times where doing a dynamic translation, a more thought-for-thought translation, would be more accurate. Now, this is, again, a hotly debated topic, and people are very, very passionate about this subject. But I would say that there's a place for both, okay? Especially if you don't know any of the original languages, there's definitely a place, you should have a place in your Bible study for using both. A good example of this would be if you were using let's say, the New King James. The New King James is an excellent formal equivalent translation, very word for word. But sometimes it can be hard to understand certain passages. So what if, instead of only using the New King James, you also pair with it something like a more dynamic translation, such as the NIV or the NLT. I should have clarified that, by the way. On the dynamic equivalent side, you have, the NIV, New International Version, or the New Living Translation. Translations like that tend to be more thought for thought, dynamic, right? Well, I think that those translations definitely have a place, especially in Bible study, because sometimes you could read a passage read a passage 100 times and you're just not getting the big picture. As the saying goes, you can't see the forest for the trees. And sometimes it's a good thing to go and read a more looser translation to help bring out what's going on in the text and maybe shine a new light on it. I'm thinking about doing a video on the New Living Translation because it played a very significant role in my life, especially in my Christian walk. So if you'd like to see that, a video on that, I think that I would love to do it. So comment below if you'd like to see that. But anyway, I think that there's a time for both. And I think if we rigidly adhere to only one translation, I think that we're doing ourselves a disservice, that we're missing out, especially if we don't understand, if you don't know the original languages. I think that you are missing out on a potential, a potential insight that you could be having. So anyway, let me know below what you do, if you prefer formal or dynamic or both. Maybe you like a middle of the road translation like the CSB. I think the CSB is actually a really great translation, and its footnotes are excellent, by the way, mainly in the Old Testament. I think the New King James still has better footnotes in the New Testament, but still, the CSB has excellent footnotes, which actually I just found this out recently, but the CSB was originally the HCSB, right? And the main editor was originally Dr. Arthur Farstad, who was the main editor of the New King James. But he passed away, and I know that this HCSB was originally supposed to be, I think, a majority text translation, but anyway, he passed away, but it doesn't surprise me that his influence would have stayed on the CSB, which explains why it has such good footnotes, because I think the New King James has excellent footnotes. So anyway, all that to be being said, translation philosophy, comment below which one you like or which one you think is the best. If you, especially if you read the original languages, tell me what you do when you're translating a text in your mind, because really that's what you do. You read it and your brain goes, okay, it's saying this. How do you do it? Do you do a more dynamic, and internally, do you do a more dynamic translation, or do you tend to be more formal? Let me know, comment below what you think. And again, I love comments. I try to get back to as many as I can. So anyway, with that being said, God bless you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day in Jesus. And, read your Bibles. That's what's important. So anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.